Hi, my name's Travis. Today I'm going to be going over freeing a stuck engine with you guys. First off, there's a number of different reasons an engine can be stuck. An engine can be stuck due to mechanical failure, which would be like this connecting rod broke. We're not going to cover that today. There's just so many different variations why an engine could be stuck mechanically. We're going to go over today an engine being stuck due to sitting where it got moisture in it. This here is a piston. It sits inside a cylinder, which is real tight around here, and there's some rings that ride on here. And what will happen is, over time, moisture will get down in these spots of the engine, and it'll rust. It'll seize solid to where this won't move. You can't get it to go up and down, and you can put a lot of force and still never get it to move. So what I like to do is, the first thing I like to pull the spark plugs out. If it's a gasoline engine or if it's a diesel, pull the injectors out so you can get to the top of the piston. And you'll only be able to get just a little hole for that. And what you want to do is either take some WD-40 or some PB Blaster, or else a lot of people use diesel fuel mixed with transmission fluid. And what you do is you let that soak, and then if you have a vehicle that has a manual transmission, you get lucky because you can put it in gear and rock the wheels back and forth to try to get some movement in there. Because after this soaks, you just want to try to get the crankshaft to move it up and down just a little bit to get any kind of a movement that you can. Or if it's an automatic engine, or if it's got an automatic transmission, what I like to do is take an impact and put on the right on the front of the crankshaft and let it go for a little bit so those vibrations will try to work this piston loose. And then some engines have a sleeve in them, and some engines it's just right there in the cylinder. I've had it happen before where the piston will start to push up, but it won't push just the piston up, it'll come out with the sleeve. And with that, it's not all bad, because then you can put the sleeve in a press and you can actually put hydraulic pressure and press this piston out of that sleeve. And otherwise, if it's just a solid engine, you can take the engines out of the vehicle and have it pressed out. But the problem with putting the press on there and putting too much pressure is that these parts are expensive and they do break. And the last thing you want to do is be just breaking them all and having to go find new ones. Like this one, it's very hard to find, and it's just, by the time you find them, you're just gonna end up having a lot of extra money into it, to where if you just took a little bit extra time, you can get them out. And you know, if you come down to where you still can't get it out, and after you've let it soak, and sometimes it'll take 2 to 3 weeks. I usually like to let it soak for a week or two before I even attempt to mess with it, because part of it's in the battle of just waiting it out, because eventually it will start to seep around there. But a lot of it depends on really why it was stuck and why it got there. But your worst case scenario is you can take a chisel and you can actually break this piston out. And sometimes it's more than one piston that's stuck, sometimes it's only one. The best way to figure out if it is only one is to put your hand on the top of the piston and either rock it back and forth or put the impact on it, and you can feel the vibration. You don't want to break any more than you have to, because like I said, the cost of these is very expensive, and when you break one, there's no other option but to replace it. And that concludes basically what I have to say about freeing a stuck motor. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if you had to replace one of them, one or more, how much would you expect to pay for each one?
Every vehicle is different. On this particular engine right here, first off, to find this piston again, we could not find another one of these pistons to match this, so we actually ended up having to get a set of 4 new ones because we couldn't get this other piston just like this. And that set ended up running $1,200. So by the time you spent that $1,200, because you couldn't find the other pistons. I mean, it's a lot of money that you have wrapped up, and then a lot of people are really big about keeping stuff factory these days in stock, because for the collector value of it, and otherwise your only other option is to try to find a used one in another motor, and then you have to worry about the condition that was in. Do I have any other questions?
What causes the moisture to get in them?
Well, a lot of times it's due to the exhaust system was left open and it gets moisture in there, but about anything, most of these mechanics in these cars, if they sit long enough, they just do get moisture due to the metal heating and cooling, and just the condensation off them will eventually get moisture in it. For what I work on, a lot of it is that the exhaust manifolds were broke or left open, and that's where it'll get moisture in. Do I have any other questions? All right, thank you, and that concludes my speech.